Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans from a diehard Houston sports fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. If I had to explain myself or introduce myself, I guess I would say I am an entertainer, I'm a writer, I'm an actor, creative multi-hyphenate, but most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. That's right. This episode, I'm going to tell you that I once got to skip the line at the Breakfast Club. Oh my God, I felt like a celebrity. It might have been the best day of my life. And look, it wasn't too privileged. It's because I was working with the owners of the Breakfast Club on a project. But skipping that line made me feel like I was famous. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles. And now, well, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start just absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, nor are we worse, the national media haters or avoiders. We love our team and want to root them on, but we also want to try to discuss the ins and outs of our teams without too much homerism. Keyword here, try. Welcome returning listeners, and of course, welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Pod Broad Paul Ball Block. You know what? There's been like so many episodes of this, and I rarely mess up the tongue twister, but we'll try that again. The Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brother. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans that might get that reference that I botched. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my pronunciation there. As always, we're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-hosts and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me. She is in studio taking a nap. Listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She has the hot takes on this podcast as opposed to my cool takes. On this episode, I am not going to be that cool because, baby, the Astros swept the Dodgers in Los Angeles at Minute Maid Park West, or Daikin Park West now, technically. I don't know. I guess the naming rights changed with the Daikin as well. Folks, we are very excited to talk about your Houston Astros sweeping the Dodgers, so let's get to it. But before we do, of course, I want to wish a good day, mates, to all of the Australian listeners out there. When we first started the podcast, we were just outside of the top 100 baseball podcasts, specifically in Australia. So if you still happen to be an Australian Astros fan listening to us, good day, mate, to you. Let's get to it. Let's talk about your Houston Astros. And folks, it has been a tough time for me here in Los Angeles. There's been a lot of things going on in LA. I'm sure most of you are aware of the things. Most of you are aware of the fact that I'm, a Latino man. So there has been a lot of things that have felt like it really affected me lately. I had to take some time off. I took time off this weekend, 4th of July weekend, so that I could focus on myself, my mental health, my family, their health and their safety, and it was much needed. But what was even more needed to help lift my spirits, to help me fulfill my needs, to help heal my heart, was a Houston Astros absolute drubbing of the Dodgers in game one. Folks, it was 18-1 in that first game, in that 4th of July fireworks game. 18-1, the most lopsided loss in Dodgers Stadium history. It was incredible. Truly, this game is a game that I will go back and watch on repeat when I have a bad day, and I'm really feeling it. Sometimes, my distractions. It should come to no surprise to you that one of my biggest things that helps distract me from the horrors of life is sports. So sometimes I'll have a terrible day and I'll go back and I'll watch Hakeem Olajuwon dominate Baby Shaq, or see him just absolutely dominate the New York Knicks. I'll go back and I'll watch Lance McCullers Jr. throw just nothing but sliders in Dodger Stadium. There are games that I know I will go back and watch. This, I think, is going to be in that rotation now. The Astros were on fire in this game. They knocked out the Dodgers starting pitcher Casparius after 3 innings. Davis, the other pitcher, I'm struggling to remember. Davis, Jack. Sorry, what? Okay, I hit the wrong button there. I hit Jack Dreyer. But Noah Davis, sadly, that's the Dodgers bullpen pitcher that I was searching for there. Noah Davis had a rough day out of the pen, giving up 10 runs in his appearance. Casparius gave up 6, even though he only lasted 3 innings. Sadly, he was not the worst performing pitcher for the Dodgers in that game. Gleefully for us, of course, Rojas went out there, and Miguel Rojas, went out there and as a position player went out there and did some pitching, had some success in this game as well. But let's talk about your Houston Astros, folks. This game started off with a bang for the Houston Astros. See what I did there? I live in LA. I was a bartender in Echo Park. I've heard all the jokes. A lot of times I just make the jokes right back at them. But you kind of have to laugh at it a little bit. These people are delusional, arguing with Dodger fans that are very aggressive and mad about what happened, is like arguing with the Trump supporter. They have their facts that they believe. They're highly emotional. They are based off of very little fact. But if you try to tell them something based in actual fact, they will just throw their emotions right back at you and call you illogical. So, I always like to make my jokes. I have a history of being an Astros fan. Just go back and look at it. You got to have some fun with the jokes sometime too. But obviously the Astros saw something. There was some tipped pitches or something that the Dodgers pitchers were giving up. That is fully within the rules of the game. Lots of pitchers tip their pitches from time to time, and it's just a tough day on the mound. So obviously something was going on there. But in the first inning, from the first pitch, Isaac Paredes hit a home run, and folks, it just did not stop. Jose Altuve homered in the top of the third inning. Christian Walker homered in the top of the third inning. Let's see. Of course, in the sixth, Victor Caratini hits a grand slam, his second grand slam of the road trip. Caratini is out there just slugging, folks. You love to see it. And Jose Altuve got a second home run in the game, his 15th of the season in that sixth inning as well. I mean, everybody pretty much got to play in this game. Let's see. Jake Myers was 3 for 5 in this game. Christian Walker was 4 for 5. I think this was just a nightmare for Dodgers fans. And I know because I live in LA, I talk to a lot of them. Some of them I hate to admit, some of them are my friends. Some of them are my close friends. There's some reasonable Dodger fans out there, of course. This game was a nightmare for those fans. Isaac Paredes just immediately took the air out of the stadium from the jump. And Jose Altuve hit multiple home runs. There was a grand slam. This was just an awful beatdown for Dodgers fans that had to sit there and watch this entire game so that they could get to the fireworks. The Astros were bringing the fireworks the whole game, but the poor Dodgers fans that spent a lot of money to take their family to the stadium to see the fireworks had to sit and watch their team get annihilated by their biggest rival, at least. Yeah, I know they have other National League rivals, but they show up for these Astros games, folks. I know it. This is what they love to do. So they showed up for this game, just got their hearts ripped out of their chest, and then had to sit there lacklusterly watching a fireworks show on 4th of July. 4th of July, I was so happy, folks. Not only that, but we got to see Lance McCullers Jr. go 6 innings in that game. He only gave up 1 earned run. He did walk 4 batters, but he also struck out 4. Ended up, having a really good game for Lance McCullers this season. Once again, dominating at Dodger Stadium. You love to see it. And serenity now. Jason Alexander came in out of the pen and pitched 3 innings of relief of clean sheet there. 0 earned runs, 0 runs, obviously. Was getting a little dicey towards the end of his outing, but it was good to see Jason Alexander, find some continued success here with the team and to make the job easy for manager Joe Espada by just saying, hey, buddy, we're just going to be throwing 2 pitches in this game. It was a great game. There was other highlights from this game. There was a Jake Myers incredible diving catch. Mauricio Dubon made an incredible defensive play off of a deflection off of Lance McCullers Jr.'s foot, which was you worried about that for a little bit, but the defense in this game was incredible. On both sides for a little bit there. There was an error that the Dodgers committed, but the Astros defense, was absolutely great. In these types of games, this wasn't like a shutout or anything, but obviously, Lance only gave up 1 home run. So, it's as close to, a great performance of a shutout like that as you can get, where you only give up 1 run via the homer. Defense really showed up. Lance really showed up. The lineup loves hitting in Dodger Stadium, so of course they showed up. That July 4th game, that historic beating of the LA Dodgers is going to be something that I remember for quite some time. And we still have 2 more games to get to. And it's like I said earlier in the podcast, it isn't just because of the game. It's because of all the things happening in the world right now. All of the stresses in my life. The fact that I was like, look, I need to take this weekend off. The games are blacked out on my MLB app because I live in Los Angeles. I don't pay the Dodgers a cent. So the games were blacked out for me. So it would have been hard to watch the games live unless I was, of course, we love One Piece here. The great age of piracy has begun. There are times that I, go around the rules of the law to watch my games. We also had a little bit of a vacation planned for 4th of July. We had a little getaway. So I was just like, you know what? Why put myself through the stress of the game? I'm going to take it off. It was great to see them win. Also, the Dodgers, frankly, I've been frustrated with them as an organization in Los Angeles. They have been aiding organizations that I don't think help the community that help build the Dodgers. They're out here aiding ICE, essentially, and they did. There were things that the Dodgers did that having ICE turn around, not wanting ICE at the games, donating to help immigrants. I do think there are some things that the Dodgers did try to do to make this right, but it just kind of seems like they are playing both sides. And honestly, they really have profited off of the Latino community so much that it is difficult to see. You just have to look up Chavez Ravine to know of some dark history that the Dodgers have built off of Latino culture and off of Latinos themselves. So, it definitely, on top of baseball, I wanted the Astros to beat this team because of the organization, not the players. The players have nothing to do with what the organization does. The Astros fans should understand that, for sure. but it was the victory was a little bit more delicious, and you just love to see it, folks. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back to talk about Game 2 and Game 3, talk about your Astros here on the podcast. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to go ahead and talk about Game 2 and Game 3. Sorry, I am obviously very excited. I'm a little emotional, taking a break late there, just rambling a little bit. But yeah, I love these games. We're going to talk about it. Game 2 was a little bit of a closer event. It was won by the Astros 6-4. This game was the Ohtani game. Obviously, Shohei is an incredible pitcher. The Astros have seen him pitch before, maybe not this lineup specifically. This is definitely a different lineup than, we'll get to health in a second here. But these were kind of like the battle of the aces here. You had Shohei for the Dodgers. You had Valdez, La Grasa, pitching for Houston. Obviously, Shohei is not at 100% strength right now. He's not 100% with his shoulder. He just recently started pitching again. So I was very excited to see Shohei. But also, we knew that Shohei was not going to have that long of an outing. And the Astros made sure that outing was not very long whatsoever by keeping Shohei to 2 innings. Shohei gave up 1 hit and got 3 strikeouts. He struck out the side in that second inning. And it was so funny. This game, we're right on the heels of one of the worst losses in Dodger history. The Astros beat the Dodgers in this game, but the game is ending. And all I heard people talk about is oh man, Shohei Ohtani, can't wait. Did you see him strike out the side in the second inning? Nobody in LA was talking about the loss. Nobody in LA was talking about the day before. Everybody was just clinging to any kind of good news they could. It's been tough for people around here too. I get it. But sadly, the only good news they really had was Shohei getting 3 strikeouts in a row in the second inning when didn't really, of course he won all the strikeouts he can get, but didn't really help them win the game specifically. But of course, Shohei was looking good. In this game, Framber Valdez went 6 innings. He didn't have the sharpest stuff. Sometimes Framber goes out there and he has a tougher game. But it's really good to see this version of Framber Valdez just be able to bounce back or have a tough game and kind of play through it and still get the W. I think these things are important. Framber Valdez is, he's kind of like me. He's a bit of an emotional guy. I think there's times where, emotions can get the better of him in these tough instances. We've seen it in the past. And, it's tough. Baseball's a game where your mental attributes are just as important as your physical attributes. And if you're mentally, spiraling, it is hard to remain consistent, to do the things that you're supposed to do consistently. You either lose focus on those muscle movements that you finally tuned, or you discard them and you're like, they're not working anymore. I'm going to try something new. And that doesn't help you. So, obviously, I'm not saying that's Framber's problem specifically. Those were my problems. But I do think that most players fall in those categories. Just to be clear, I was not a very good baseball player. I didn't play professional baseball in any way. This is a comedy show. I'm a comedian more than anything. Don't want to make it sound like I'm speaking as if I'm some kind of, tenured baseball player. Oh. Carla, it's okay. Carla wants to make sure I'm not a tenured baseball player too. Sorry, folks, I had to take a quick break there. My scarecrow fell down, made a big noise. Look, folks, this has been a really rambly podcast, but let's just get to it. I have a scarecrow in the back right now. It is a Halloween skeleton that I put one of my shirts on, and ironically, I put my skull and crossbones beanie on the skeleton. Look at him, the little idiot. He doesn't even know how stupid he looks with that on. I got jokes, folks. I got jokes. No one knows. Well, I guess now the joke is for you guys, but nobody knew that I put a skull and crossbones beanie on my skeleton. I was just laughing at myself in the backyard while I was making this makeshift scarecrow because baby house sparrow was essentially hiding in the corner of my garden there, and I was trying to keep the other sparrows away from her. It seemed to be attacking her a little bit, but it seems like everything's fine in the bird world in my little garden now. But the scarecrow has fallen. I repeat, the scarecrow has fallen. R.I.P. Scarecrow. But back to Framber Valdez. Let's look at his stats. In this game, he got 7 strikeouts. He did give up 4 runs, 4 of them were earned, but those 7 strikeouts and only 2 walks were super helpful. Lance McCullers giving up a bunch of walks in the last game. Framber Valdez, when the game is kind of getting out of hand, he can give up extra walks. He gave up 7 hits. So it was a tough game, but overall, he was able to stick with it to get through 6 innings and to help the Astros stay competitive to get this win. Bennett Sousa came in to pitch an inning. Brian Abreu came in and had to get some help from Josh Hader. Josh Hader came in with the Mr. Fantastic, that stretch save there. He pitched 1 1/3 of an inning to win this game for the Houston Astros. In the last game, there was incredible hitting. And, I mean, honestly, the pitching was great, too. No shade on Lance McCullers, who did have some tough times there, but in this game really had to be won behind some tough competitive pitching. That's why Framber Valdez is so good. He's our ace right now. Arguably, you could say Hunter Brown too, and I wouldn't fight you. But Framber Valdez is that opening day starter. He's a guy that has the stuff, and he's battle tested right now. He has the right stuff, and he has the right mental fortitude behind it. For the Astros, kind of looking at the scoring plays here, Zach Short was in this game. He actually, you're like, what is happening? The Astros are dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of who is Zach Short? A lot of you are saying, he's definitely more of a defense first prospect. I would say it's fairly fair to say, it's not like I'm a big scout or anything, but Zach Short is up. We have no Brendan Rodgers. We have no Luis Guillorme. We're struggling with even our backup infielders. So Zach Short was here. Shea Whitcomb, sadly, had a little bobble at second base in the previous game. A lot of people are wondering where's Shea Whitcomb. Shea Whitcomb has an amazing bat. He's had an amazing run as a minor leaguer. We say we want to call players up and not play them on the bench, but Shea has not had much playing time. Well, I think he kind of showed you why the team isn't trusting him too much with a lot of playing time. Astros fans that has been with us since last season at least remember Shea Whitcomb had that insane 4-error inning in one game. Sometimes he is prone to some defensive miscues, and I think they just haven't really liked what they've seen out of him as a defender, and our infield defense is like the gold standard right now, and I think they just don't see Shea Whitcomb sadly as a option for a strong infield defense. So they're going with Zach Short, but Zach Short actually, in this game, he was 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs, if I'm getting this correctly. I'm like, am I reading this right? I watched the game. I knew he did great, and I'm just like, is that correct? Zach Short was great in this game. Yanner Diaz hit a home run. He was like, Victor Caratini's getting way too much credit lately. I need to make sure that I show that I can still do this thing. He hit his 11th home run in the top of the 4th. It was a good win. The Dodgers struck first in this game. they definitely, wanted to win this game. There's no doubt about it. You could see them desperately fighting to win this game. Shohei started. I worked really hard to not pronounce this name incorrectly. Robleski. And I still don't feel confident about it. Sorry. No shade ever if I mispronounce a name. Truthfully, there's times I feel like I don't pronounce my own name correctly. It's no shade. I apologize. But Robleski, you say that without the W because the Astros didn't let the Dodgers have any W's. Ugh, I can't even. That was a solid joke that I botched. But Robleski, I can't even say it. This is gonna be a tough one. That scarecrow fell down and everything's falling apart, folks. But Robleski had a tough game, giving up 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned. Just 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. Not a terrible piggyback start. If it wasn't for all those hits and that error, obviously, the Astros were able to put this game away. They were able to go back and forth a bit with the Dodgers to win this game. And honestly, I was worried that this was going to be the game we lost. Not that the Astros I knew were going to take 2 of 3. Of the Dodgers, obviously that was my hope and my prediction. But after the after the wonderful win and the terrible defeat of the Dodgers, either way you look at it, I thought for sure, they're going to bounce back and just be angry in this game. But the Astros were able to hold them off. They were able to hold off the hornet's nest that is Dodgers Stadium. Jose Altuve hit his first triple in this game. It was a great game. Christian Walker once again has a great game. Let's look at his line in this game. Let's see real quick. Let's talk about some Astros hitters before we move on. Altuve was 1 for 4. Christian Walker was 1 for 4 in this game. Paredes was 2 for 4. So overall, not a lot of big swinging like the previous game. Caratini struck out, I believe, 3 times in this game. So, offensively, they had some struggles, but they were able to bounce back. Game 3, however, once again, Astros just dominate. The game score wasn't exactly, popping off the charts, but 5-1 victory. It felt more dominant than to me than maybe it was for a lot more people. That's okay, but I just felt they were in control and they just knew they were going to win the game, even though I was worried about it. Check this out. They started Ryan Gusto. Their lineup in this game is Paredes, Myers, Trammell, Taylor Trammell. Actually came in to, I should start this over because Trammell replaced Myers who had an injury, and of course we're hopeful that Myers is doing okay. So the lineup really started with Paredes, Myers, Altuve, Cam Smith, Cam Walker, Yainer Diaz, Cooper Hummel, Dubon, and short. But with Trammell in there instead of Myers for a bit, this lineup just really didn't feel like the strongest Astros lineup that has been up there. Cooper Hummel has really been doing great for the Astros lately. He's really making a case for more and more playing time. Jacob Melton really came up and was incredible, and I thought Jacob Melton was maybe going to take over that left field position. Now we have Cooper Hummel doing that. Remember when we were talking about Zach DeZenzo potentially in the left field position, and then we were talking about maybe maybe it's Jacob Melton, and now maybe it's Cooper Hummel. Whoever the Astros are getting they've been really doing good lately. Zach Short was 3 for 3 in this game. Zach Short really he brought his bat for sure. Ryan Gusto, he pitched. Moving over to pitching real quick. I'm kind of all over the place, but I meant to start with the pitching here. Ryan Gusto, he had 6 innings. His line, gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. Not exactly flying off the pages with those numbers, but getting a quality start, going 6 innings and limiting those hits. Bennett Sousa came in out of the pen, getting a clean sheet for 1 inning. Brian King, and Brian Abreu finishing it up there, giving Hader some rest, and that's all she needed for the Houston Astros pitching. The 3 relievers gave up respectively 3 hits as a group. 0 runs, and 6 strikeouts. The relievers. So that pin really came in and shut down the game here. And this pitching was incredible. And you have to think this was kind of like the B squad, if you will, with Ryan Gusto, Bennett Sousa, Brian King, and Brian Abreu. Those aren't the guys that'll go 7, 8, 9 for you normally. In this game, we did have another Christian Walker home run. We did have another Yainer Diaz home run. And in the 9th, just to really rub their noses in it, the Dodger Stadium was still loud. They were still making themselves known to Jose Altuve. It's hilarious. You see videos of Jose Altuve at Dodger Stadium before the game with a pack of Dodger fans around him, begging him for autographs, and he's just happily signing autographs for all these people. And then they turn around and boo him collectively as a stadium. And that's because, truthfully, if you met somebody like Jose Altuve face to face, you'd probably love him. You'd want to spend the rest of the day with him. You'd at least want to have a beer with him. But these Dodger fans, they're booing. They're booing themselves at this point. They're like, we are mad that our team is doing this poorly, and we're mad that Jose Altuve is doing it to us. Boo! I think that's what it is. They're booing themselves for booing Jose Altuve, because at this point, why boo the man? He's gonna make you pay for it. He just relishes the boos. People are like, we're gonna boo him like he's never heard before. This isn't a good technique, and he's heard it all before. So It was fun to see that happen. Overall, Jose Altuve is really bouncing back here. The Houston Astros, for whatever reason, they are a team that just kind of struggles a little bit out the gate, and they start picking it up in the summer, and they just turn into this inevitable Thanos type character that just scares the bejeebus out of all of the league, outside of Houston. I really think, there still is a lot of season left, but this Astros team is really reminding me of the just all the other teams in the golden era. We were all worried. We were falling for the national narrative that this team isn't who they were. This is a new team, and we don't need to be scared of them. We don't need to respect them. They're not going to play good ball. This team has silenced all of those doubts. There's still plenty of season left, but if they can continue to get healthy, if they continue to get this increased production from their replacement level players, this team is going to be great. Folks, it was great to see the Astros put belt to butt in this series. It was a great win for a Houstonian that lives in Los Angeles. It was a great win for a man that is losing faith in society, I guess. Humanity. No, it was been going through a tough time, honestly. And it was much needed for me. But folks, I was very, very happy to see this from your Houston Astros. We should be very proud of this team. We should be very happy for what this team potentially can do if they continue this way this season. You love to see it. Folks, the Astros are going to play the Cleveland Guardians starting later today. Colton Gordon is going to be pitching against Tanner Bibby in this first game. In Tuesday's game, tomorrow, it's going to be Hunter Brown versus the Cleveland Guardians are sending Joey Cantillo to the mound. And give me an extra second for this third game. I'm going to vamp a little bit as I look up the pitchers. It looks like for the Astros, we're going with Brandon Walter to pitch in that third game. And no, I accidentally hit that. I wanted to hit buy tickets for it. Nope. Slade. Oh, goodness. Slade. I'm going to say Ciconi. Apologies, I already know that I mispronounced that name to Mr. Slade there. There's no pronunciation guide on this page that I have. I apologize. But with that being said, me messing things up, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me if you will. We are a small podcast, and we only go as far as our listenership takes us. We're supported by listeners like you, so please share with a Houston fan or an Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening to this podcast on. It really helps a lot if you've gotten this far. I think I'd maybe at least a 4-star, right? You got to the end of it. You don't hate it that much. Please consider doing that to support the podcast, or you can check out the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can be a subscriber. You could help support the podcast and the blog by being a free subscriber and getting that content sent to you directly via email, or getting a notification on your phone whenever I have content. Check that out, or you can reach out on social media. Let me know how you feel. Let me know if you are this excited about the Houston Astros this season, if this series sweep filled you as much as it filled me. Let me know on social media at Space Cadet Sports on Instagram and Threads, or at spacecadetsports.bsky.social on Blue Sky. Or you can call in and leave me a voicemail. Let me know your take at SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/spacecadetsports, where you can leave me a voicemail. Let me know your thoughts. I could address it, or if you want, I could even put it on the podcast. I don't want to put you out there if that's not what you want, but definitely could leave me a voicemail there. Folks, thanks so much for supporting the podcast. Thanks so much for supporting me. If you want to find more of my weird stuff, you can find me on social media making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more at Paul Salazar Jr. Paul Salazar Jr.bluesky, bsky.net, bsky.social. Paul Salazar Jr.bsky.social, or www.paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. You can find my other Substack, you can find my art, you can find merch like my aircraft carrier Cam Smith hat on the website. Check it out. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.